All right, good evening once again. We are out here in Westbury. Really, it's been a day of tensions, running battles between community members and police officers. And it's just been that kind of evening. People want to hear from the National Minister Bheki Cele. They want proper investigation because they're saying there's a sense that you don't know who to trust. That even if you go to the police, the local police station, certainly, and report what you know, report what you see, there is a sense that the police officers there, they are alleging, are involved in the gang warfare that's taking place here. And even though the comments on Twitter and some of the voice notes that I've just heard there want to express a sentiment that maybe gangs are not the problem, the people we are speaking to on the ground say that that is a part of what their experience of this community has been. And I'm joined now by Justin Favor. Good evening to you, Justin. Now I see you carrying a white flag. You say ultimately you want peace to return to this community.
Yes, Bongani. Good evening once again. We need peace in our community because this is not only as of Thursday's events. This has been coming on for decades and decades. This is a generational curse that's happening in our community. And we can't keep on crying and burying people, family members, cousins, brothers. We've been going through this for decades and decades of years. So this is not fair to our children. So the only hope is to move out and come back and preach. That's not how it should be.
You're telling me about it being a generational curse.
Yes,
you were telling me a little earlier off camera that your own father used to be involved in this, that you've used yourself.
Yes.
Tell me about your journey as a member of this community and the pull towards certainly drug usage.
My father is born again now. He's a pastor, Reverend Peter Favor. He was a gangster and he got born again in 97, 98 when there was peace. There was peace and things cooled off for a couple of years, but then the war started back again. I am delivered and I'm born again and set free. It's been 5 years now. I was on drugs for 12 years, on and off, and God set me free. But I believe there's hope for our community. There's too much hope.
Talk to me about how difficult it is to live in this community and not be part and not be pulled into the drug usage and all the problems that the community has been raising today.
It's extremely difficult. As we know that it begins in the house. So you as a parent, it starts at home, but when your child goes out, you don't know what your child does. So it's not easy. We go through so many things. As the teachers also spoke to you earlier about, that we need programs, we need leaders. We do not have proper leaders. I know leaders start at home first, but we need leaders outside to lead our young people to make great men, and it starts with the fathers. Lack of fathers is also the main issue. If a father can stand up in the house, it would be much easier because we're being raised by strong mothers and you need a father in the home. So we need programs, we need something for our community.
All right, thank you very much then to Justin Favor, their community member, who says he himself at one point was pulled into using drugs, saying that it's very difficult for community members, for people who live in this community to not be pulled in some way or another. And really a lot of the messaging that we've been hearing today is the messaging of despair. The community are saying they need a new light, they need a new hope. I understand we've got now on the line Provincial Commissioner Peters, who's going to answer some of the questions that this community, who's going to ask some of the questions rather, some of this community wants answered. Brigadier Peters, Provincial Commissioner, good evening to you. I understand you've had to step out of a meeting to be able to talk to us. Good evening, can you hear me?
Good evening, Bongani, and good evening to your viewers. I just need to correct that I am not the Provincial Commissioner. The Provincial Commissioner is Lieutenant General Deliwe Delanga. She's unfortunately chairing the same meeting that I've had to step out from. So I will be speaking on her behalf as her spokesperson.
All right, I'm battling to hear you a little bit, but the first question I want to ask you is, can you confirm if the National Police Minister Bheki Cele is going to be in this community? We understand that might happen around midday tomorrow. Can you confirm that?
I can confirm that the Minister of Police, Minister Bheki Cele, will be meeting the community of Westbury on Tuesday the 2nd around 11 o'clock.
So the minister will be coming tomorrow. What's the plan? That's really what people want to know. What is he going to say? What message is he going to bring?
At this stage, Bongani, there has been quite a lot of intervention from the police's side. However, the community made it clear that they also wanted to see the minister. And after some analysis, it then became clear that some of these tensions could only be allayed once the minister has visited the community. So that is the reason that over and above the interventions by the provincial commissioner and management of police in Gauteng, the minister has also seen the need to visit the community and come and speak to them.
One of the constant cries that we've heard throughout the day is this idea that even when community members want to report what they know to the local police, they're afraid for their lives, because one of the central allegations is that the local officers are themselves on the payroll of many of the drug lords, the drug dealers, and so whatever information is exposed, the residents say they simply cannot trust the police here.
Yes, Bongani, there are allegations that have been made against the local police in Sophiatown, where the provincial commissioner actually had to cancel her leave and come back to address the situation. There are 3 members who have been temporarily moved as a precautionary measure to investigate all these allegations, and then the provincial commissioner has also established a task team to look into not only these allegations, also the names that have been given to the police as people who could be responsible and behind some of the crimes that are committed in the area.
But with respect, a lot of the allegations we've heard don't just center around 3 individuals. The community here are saying the entire police station is not to be trusted, because a lot of the names of the people that they say are involved in this are known to the community and certainly should be known to those officers. But there's been very little investigations on an ongoing basis that happen here. So they would contend it's not just about 3 people, but indeed policing in this area in general.
Bongani, the 3 people action was taken because those names kept coming up repeatedly. And then the provincial commissioner has also extended a call to the community to come and substantiate these allegations, because we can't just go with person so-and-so or officer X is responsible for that, and then there is no statement to go with that. We do need the community members who know for a fact that this has been happening to come forward and report to the police. In fact, this afternoon when the provincial commissioner was addressing the community, she even gave out her personal phone numbers so that community members can contact her in the event that they say they do not trust the police at the local police station. So we are here, the provincial commissioner is here with top management of the police in Gauteng to address some of these issues. We have been sitting with the leadership of the Community Police Forum as well as the organizers of the protest this afternoon. So I believe a lot of work has been done, and there is a lot that's going to happen from this.
All right, the sound not working in our favor. We're going to have to leave it there with Brigadier Peters. We thank you for stepping out of that meeting to address some of the concerns that are being raised by community members here. And I'm joined now by one of the leaders, Shahim Ishmael. Good evening to you. We understand now, final confirmation, Police Minister Bheki Cele will be addressing this community from tomorrow morning. That's the latest we've just heard in that conversation. Does that encourage you at all? I mean, is this what the community, I mean, this is what you've been asking for?
Yes, good evening to all the viewers out there. Yes, firstly, I just want to say to Carol and to all the mothers, and Carol again, Carol Sally, you've done us proud as a community today. It was very hectic. Yes, the question of Minister Cele coming, it was one of our requests that we were promised that he was going to come, but not come here to have a speech. But he's coming here should help us to change the policing, as you rightfully said in your discussion with the Brigadier from the province. Is that Bheki Cele needs to come here and help us to reinforce that police and restructure. One of our main requests is that we are saying we're going to start from top. We need that station commander to be removed immediately. We need the management to be changed immediately, and let us start from top down, and then get the community to start buying into the police station in terms of having an ownership to that police station. And we must own that it belongs to the community. So we need to get the community policing in a proper manner that it can benefit each and everyone.
Well, I have to ask you this question because it's been one of the conversation points in much of what has been said today. People getting taking a sense of offense, you might say, at the impression that's being created that this is about gangsterism. A number of people tweeting us on the show on #FullView saying there's not much gangsterism happening here. It's drug lords fighting over turf. How do you explain it?
I think this is a point where the police are exposed, and that's why we say we need to change the police. For the past 3-4 years since the Luke Tibbetts scenario and many other cases prior to that, the police has failed the community to come up clean to say what violence are they being faced? What is this violence about? They've given us all the intelligence and they've delivered nothing to the community. They have failed us, and that is where we expose them, because we cannot answer that. The police must answer that on the arrest and the type of killings that they are finding. So we cannot be put into a corner as a community to say, yes, it is gang related, yes, it is drug related. Why is the police not answering that questions? They should be kept accountable, and they should answer that, because they are the intelligence. They are supposed to have dealt with it long ago and come clean and say this is what they are dealing with in these communities. And this is how they're going to fight it. I mean, for up till now, one of our biggest demands, they don't have a drug unit. They don't have a gangster unit. They don't have a firearm unit. But they're being faced daily with these type of crimes in these communities. Why are those units not implemented? And those are the type of requests that we will put to the National Minister with immediate effect. We want those structures to be put into place in order to start managing this type of crimes in these communities.
There is a sense in many communities around the country, not just this one, that to really be heard by political leaders, to really be heard certainly by leaders in policing, you've got to take the kinds of actions we have seen over the last few days here. So would you say for you that ultimately then that has worked?
Talk to him.
Yes. What?
Just look at me. Talk
Yes.
to me.
What is... Sorry, can you just repeat the question?
I'm saying there is the sense in many communities that to get your voices to be heard, you have to resort to the kind of actions we've seen over the recent days.
It was completely unnecessary for this action to be taken, and the loss of life. Those people never had to die. We never had to have people that was shot after the last prayer service rally we had with the MEC of Safety and Security. We've handed over a mandate and a memorandum stating quite clearly we do request immediate sufficient police deployment in this community. And these type of actions are led because of non-implementation and not listening to the communities. And I think government should learn and listen to the communities and speak to the communities. And we are not asking the world. We are asking small nyana things. And those small nyana things can save a lot of lives. But it's very important to listen and to implement. But for us, government takes too long to react. And at the end of the day, we pick bodies up and we find people on the streets that have been shot. And I think government needs to go in a system where they also have people within these communities, in their departments, that can speak to the issues on the ground. Because there is another problem that we have in government, that we don't have people from these communities that can inform government and also advise government in terms how to go about with these type of issues in these communities. And that is where government fails. They need to have people in their different structures that come from these communities.
All right, we'll have to leave it there with you, Shahim, in terms of what you had to say. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to step out for a little bit, and I'm going to invite you to come and join us because you want to also have your voice heard. What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Sandra. I'm a senior citizen of this community. When I say senior, I don't mean aged. But I've lived here for 34 years, grown to love this community. There is good that comes out of Westbury, but unfortunately, we're dealing with the genocide here of drugs, with drugs. That is the main problem that we have at the moment. We wouldn't have had all this tension and violence if it was not for the police that had started all this. We were protesting very, very peacefully from Friday, and it escalated to this. Now they are bringing out the monster, which they say we are monsters. We are not monsters. The monsters that we are has been created by the government themselves, because they do nothing. They do absolutely nothing. We have a big problem with the police station down there, and I just personally feel that the officers that are suspended at the moment should not be suspended and let to go. They have the paper trails of all cases that were brought to them, and they must deliver that first before they leave.
It's about consequence, really. That's also another sentiment that has been expressed, that things happen here and there are no consequences. People say they report crimes, they give information about who's involved, and simply nothing happens. We'll obviously have to keep an eye on it in terms of what the national minister will do when he comes to this community. He may get a hostile reception, he may be welcomed, it's not really certain. But I think we're going to have to leave it there for this evening. We've been here on the ground. The situation is now pretty calm at the moment, and most of the people that were throwing bottles and stones at the police seem to have dispersed. There still remains a fairly strong police presence here. We've got officers both from the South African Police Services and the Johannesburg Metro Police Department. We've got vans here, obviously keeping a watchful eye for any developments that might occur overnight. But really, if the plan was to get national attention, if the plan was to get the attention of not only the police but indeed the attention of the country, to that end, the protests that we have seen here have worked. And of course, let's not forget that a life has been lost and a little child remains in a critical condition. That's what sparked off the protests last week, and that's what's led us to where we are this evening. But I'm going to have to leave it there, reporting live here from the Westbury community. Over to you, Francis.